Hi guys, it's Angie with Fun Endeavors Tie-Dye Lab. Today let's make a reverse dyed geode hoodie. This hoodie is a Champion brand hoodie which I purchased from Costco, and it is not like a fuzzy on the inside hoodie. It's more like a really thick long sleeve t-shirt type hoodie. It's 100% cotton, and this one is navy blue in color. I have it turned inside out, and I'm using a piece of white chalk to make myself a mark where I'd like for the center of the geode to be. I'm going to grab that area of the hoodie, lift it up off of the table, and then slide my hand down to the very bottom, and that's where I'm going to start tying sinew lines. I know I've mentioned this many times before, but it really is true. I think when you start tying from the bottom of a geode and tie in toward the center of the geode, it really makes the geode look more natural. It doesn't have as much of a tendency to look like a bullseye. When you start from the middle, it's really easy to just make every one of those rings perfect, and when you untie it, you look like you just have either one or a whole bunch of bullseyes all over your shirt. I mark the center of my geode because periodically I'm going to grab that area and kind of lift the hoodie up off the table and give it a shake, and so I don't want to lose track of where I want the center of my geode to be. I don't want to keep the folds in the hoodie really perfect though. I want to just kind of let them fall naturally and be a little bit messy. Truthfully, the messier your folds are, the more natural your geode looks, because the more you have kind of those weird like overlaps of fabric that get tied in there and just interesting shapes that get tied in the geode when the fabric isn't laying perfect. When I get down toward the center of the geode, I want to make the center of the geode a little bit more interesting. So I'm going to split the center into two parts. And I'm actually going to even split one of those parts into two parts. Depending upon how large you'd like for the center of your geode to be, you can split it as many times as you'd like to. Once I get the center of the geode tied, I'm going to wind the sinew back down the shirt just a little bit before I cut it off. If I cut the sinew off in one of these really small areas, it has more of a tendency to unravel during the full process that I'm going to do on the shirt. For the color removal process, I'm using a product called Out White Bright Laundry Whitener, and I purchased mine from Walmart, and it's usually by the bleach or bleach alternative products. It's not a bleach product, so it's not going to damage your fabric the way that bleach will, and it doesn't have to be neutralized. If you can't find any at your local store, I have a link down below in the description for this video where you can purchase some from Amazon. I'm going to use this outside because Out White Bright does have a smell, and I don't want that smell inside, and I'm also wearing my respirator for the entire process. I don't want to inhale any of the fumes, and I don't want to inhale any of the powdered Out White Bright. I've placed all the items that I'm going to remove the color from inside of a plastic tub or tote, and I'm going to liberally sprinkle the Out White Bright over the top. This hoodie is the one at the bottom of the container. Now I'm going to pour a pan of boiling hot water over the top of the Out White Bright. And if you'll notice, it immediately starts to remove the color from this hoodie. The red and green hoodies that are in this container have the polyester part of the hoodie on the outside, so that's the part that you're seeing. You won't see the color get removed from those areas. But if you'll watch the hoodie at the bottom of the tub and the one at the top, both of those are 100% cotton, and you can see how quickly the Out White Bright works on those. Because I have quite a few items in here and they're not fully submerged or close to being fully submerged, I'm going to add a second pan of boiling hot water to this container. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and speed the video up, but I left the items in this Out White Bright solution for about 20 minutes. They really didn't need to necessarily stay that long. My washing machine was in the middle of doing a load of laundry, and so I couldn't put the items into my washer, and I didn't want them just hanging out in the sink. So I decided to leave them outside in this Out White Bright solution. Once the 20 minutes was up, I took them into my utility sink, rinsed them really well in cold water, and then put them in my washing machine along with a little bit of Dharma's Professional Textile Detergent. I washed mine on a cold cycle, but you can wash them on a warm, cold, hot cycle. It really doesn't matter. The purpose for washing them is to get out the residue from the Out White Bright solution and to get out some of the smell. By the way, I left these tied the whole entire time. Then when my washing machine was finished, I took the hoodies out of my washer and immediately put them into a soda ash solution. And I use a soda ash solution that I have set aside especially for either previously dyed items or reverse dyed items, because these items are going to release a little bit of color into that soda ash solution. And I don't want my main soda ash solution to get contaminated. Then I wrung them out of my Panda spin dryer and placed them aside to allow them to dry out completely. If you want to know why I like to dye things when they're completely dry that are thick like this, you can go out to my website, which is funendeavors.com, and on my tie-dye blog, I have a blog post specifically about dyeing dry items. The short answer is I get better color saturation in the middle of the items when I dye them dry. Okay, so before I start applying the dye, I'm going to make myself an ice barrier. And because this fold is so thick, right in the middle of the fold, I can't use my silicone cake molds. So I'm going to use some plastic cutting boards, which I purchased from the Dollar Tree dollar store, and then I've cut them into strips. So they're a little bit taller. However, down on the ends where it's kind of a wacky shape, I am going to use my silicone cake molds. To hold both the silicone cake molds and the plastic cutting boards up close to the shirt, I'm going to attach some wooden clothespins to my metal rack. I have a link down below in the description for this video where you can purchase the silicone cake molds. By the way, don't forget to wear your respirator whenever you're handling powdered dye. The powdered dye is really so fine and it's not good to inhale that. I use a respirator with a P100 filter. I have links down below in the description for a couple of the different respirators that I own. I tied this geode up, did the reverse dye process on it, soaked it, and then put it aside to dry out, and it's literally been sitting there for 2 months. I got so busy with the holidays and a lot of other things in life. So to kind of help the dye stick a little bit better, I'm going to lightly spray it with a little bit of a soda ash solution. Then the colors that I've chosen for this hoodie are various shades of magenta, gray. I'm even adding in some reds. So let me go ahead and give them to you because I have quite an extensive list. I also have them listed below in the description for this video if you kind of lose track of some of the colors that I'm using. By the way, I'm adding a different color to each individual section, and I'm going to have to repeat the colors. So I'm just kind of randomly adding them to the top of the hoodie. I'm using Razzle Dazzle, Amethyst, Peony, Raspberry, Dances with Raisins, Charcoal Gray, Brushed Steel, and Black from Dharma Trading Company. And the black that I'm using is the one that they released for the holidays. I think they were calling it the Holly Dyes. If Dharma isn't offering this color right now, there is a Facebook group called Tie-Dye Supplies Marketplace, and usually there's somebody in there selling the specialty dyes. Then I'm also using Dusty Pink from Custom Colors, Mulberry, Boysenberry, Bordeaux, and Berry from Pro Chemical and Dye, and finally Huckleberry, Flint Stone, and Iron Gray from Dye Spin. Now I'm going to add an additional sprinkle of soda ash over the top of the dye, and then add on a layer of ice. After this initial layer of ice melted, I came back and added 2 more layers of ice. There was some undissolved dye left sitting on top, and I'm also not able to add a really thick layer of ice. I need to make sure that I get plenty of liquid flowing through the hoodie though to wash that dye or to force that dye all the way down through the hoodie and to the back side. After the last layer of ice melted, I allowed the hoodie to process or batch for about 48 hours before I started rinsing it. This is what the hoodie looked like just before I started rinsing, and you can see the dye's gone through really well to the back side. I started rinsing like normal in cold water to rinse out the soda ash, and to rinse off the small amount of undissolved dye that I still had left sitting on top of the hoodie. Then I warmed the water up to hot to try to rinse out any of the excess dye that didn't bond with the fabric, and untied the hoodie. Instead of continuing to rinse for a long time, I went ahead and ran some really hot water in my utility sink, added a little bit of Blue Dawn dish detergent to the water, and allowed the hoodie to soak. I changed out the water when it would cool off, and I kept up that soaking process for quite a while, probably about 24 hours on this hoodie. Then, once the water was almost clear, I put the hoodie along with some Dharma's Professional Textile detergent into my washing machine and washed it using a hot water cycle. Okay, so the hoodie has been washed and dried and ironed, so let's see what it looks like. Okay, so what do you guys think? I think this one looks really cool. I like the pinks paired with the navy lines, and then some of the grays that I put in there kind of have some interesting color splits. I think it looks really cool. So, do you see what I mean about the center of the geode? How I split that center down several different times, and now it looks really interesting. It's got, lots of little shapes in there, and I put various different colors. It's kind of a small area when you split it down, so, some of the colors have kind of blended together, but I think it looks really cool. I also like the pinks, like the hot pinks, magentas, mixed with, the darker reds and the grays. If you do a lot of ice dyeing, you know that sometimes pinks can be kind of weird. They don't always show up so great, and they don't always respond to ice dyeing very well. I left out some of the colors like hot pink and some of the other ones that I haven't had great success with, and kind of stuck to some of the pinks that I know generally work pretty well for ice dyeing. This is also the first time too that I've used the black from Dharma that they put out for their holiday dyes, and I think that's where that green color on the back of the hoodie is coming from. I think it's pretty cool though. I like that. I got fairly good color saturation right on the very back, kind of in the shoulder blade area. I could have used a little bit more color in that area. But as I've said many times before, I really kind of like the taupey color that happens when you reverse dye a shirt. At least whenever you reverse dye a shirt without white bright. For the most part, they turn some form of taupe, and I really like that color, so I don't mind so much if some of that color is still showing. Now, if you did this process with bleach, you wouldn't necessarily get that taupe color. Most of the time, I usually end up with some form of orange, especially since I'm too chicken to leave them for very long because I don't want the bleach to damage my fabric. So normally, whenever I use bleach, my shirts end up some kind of different shade of orange. I really like the navy lines though. I always think it's fun and unexpected to use and to do reverse dyeing where when you do a geode or any other design, the lines are something other than white. I think that's really cool. It's a little something unexpected. When people look at the shirt, they're a little surprised by the different color. So overall, I really love this shirt, or I keep calling it a shirt. It's actually a hoodie. I mean, it's really like a thick t-shirt. So since it doesn't have the fuzzy stuff on the inside, this would be a good transitional hoodie. You could wear it in early spring, late fall. It's a nice weight. It's not super thick, but it's also not really thin. Unfortunately, because I waited 2 months to actually dye this hoodie, I think I only bought maybe 4 of them when I bought them because I thought, well, I'll see how well they work and then I'll come back and get some more. Well, I don't think they have them anymore. The last couple of times I've been to Costco, I haven't seen them. So I guess I'll just have to wait and see if they get some more in next year. I also like the fact that the strings dyed on the hoodie. That's good. I mean, sometimes when you have strings, they just stay white because they're made out of polyester, and it doesn't look horrible. I mean, you can actually change out the strings, put something different in there, but it's always a nice surprise when they actually do dye. The emblem dyed too. There's a little champion emblem on the sleeve, and that actually took the dye, which I was a little surprised by that. So overall, I really love the hoodie, but what do you guys think? Please drop me some comments down below and let me know. And if you've enjoyed the video, I sure would appreciate it if you would like it. And if you haven't, if you'd subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you'll hit the bell, you'll get notified whenever I upload a new video. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you have a great day.